In today's video, you are going to learn the single most important thing in business. Without this, you won't build your bank account, it will break it. And this is going to be like the foundation, and then I'm going to share with you 7 steps you can build on top of it. So to teach you this one thing, I'm going to break down a verse in the Bible, and then I'm going to break down what it is in more detail and give you 3 different examples which will help you drive this point home. So I'm going to read from this verse here in Proverbs chapter 22 verse 1, and it says, "A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches." The reason why I say this is the one most important thing in business, and without it, you're not going to build your bank account, but you're going to break it, because most people's bank accounts are broken because they're not focusing on this thing. In fact, they're focusing on the complete opposite. So in the verse, it's talking about a good name. A great way to think about this in business terminology, your name in business is your brand. What is a brand? A brand is a name. A name is something which people think, what people see when they think about you. And this is why I say if your business doesn't have a brand, or a better way to say it is, every business has a brand, every business has a name. If your name isn't accurate, if your name isn't on point, and we're going to break this down even more in a moment, then it's going to stop you from creating a business which can make more money, and it's going to put you in a position where you're struggling. Right now, everybody who views your business thinks something. It's either they're thinking something positive or they're thinking something negative. And it's even worse if you're in a situation where most people don't even know who you are. I've heard people say, you've probably heard this before as well, people say this in the past, all marketing is good marketing. The reason somebody will come to that conclusion is because they would rather have people saying bad things about them than have some people saying nothing about them, because they understand the significance of people speaking about you or having an opinion on you. But when it comes to business, if you want to build your business bank account, if you want to build your business in a great way, you need to think about what people say when they think about you, what people think when they think about you, and what they do when you're asking them to take actions. Everything stems from people's perception, what people think, what people say, and what people do based on your name. This isn't just as simple as, oh, this is what your business name is called or something along those lines. It's deeper than that. So I said earlier when I'm going to give you multiple different examples, and these are things I've been thinking about. I've done a video on one of these things before. The first example I want to give you is Connor McGregor. Who the f is that guy? Now, most people know who Connor McGregor is. The thing I was thinking about, and you know what, I'm going to take this a bit different than what I actually initially thought I would. So Connor McGregor is an MMA fighter, right? He's an MMA superstar, but in today's day and age, he's gone beyond that. And the thing I wanted to talk about specifically is something which has happened recently. I'll talk about that more in a moment. But if you think about, because this actually makes more sense for us to think about how he came onto the scene and how his brand was built. So think about it from this perspective. Connor McGregor comes into the UFC. He's this loud mouth, so to speak, right? And he's giving it the big un, as we say on this side of the pond. And he's talking about how he's the best, he's the greatest, he can beat everybody up, etc. And so many people looked at what he was doing and didn't understand it. But what Connor McGregor was doing was he was building his brand, he was building his name. He understood that he would rather have people say negative things about him than not say anything about him. Because many people in the UFC at the time, people didn't know about, didn't care about. But who's this loudmouth Irish man who's speaking like this? Like, you've got people who hate him, and the thing I haven't mentioned up until this point, on the flip side of people that hate him, you've got the people that love him. And this is why some people will say they don't care about negative publicity, they don't care about negative marketing, because in order to have negative marketing, it's only a matter of time before the positive marketing arrives or becomes visible for all to see. So for all the people that were speaking negatively about Conor McGregor, there was as much, if not more people speaking positively about him. And when you think about it from this perspective, all Conor McGregor had to care about was what the UFC thought about him, because those were the people that are paying his wages. And they obviously loved him because he was driving ratings. You see, when people are speaking negative and not speaking positive, that gives the whole business an uplift. So the UFC brand is being built, but also Conor McGregor's brand is being built. That is how he gets into a position where he's the one fighting Floyd Mayweather and making over $100 million.
Count to 3. I want everyone in this arena to scream at the top of your lungs, Floyd Mayweather. 1, 2, 3.
And not somebody else in the UFC who may be more skilled than him, may have even beat him in the past. But he's the one, because he's the one that's built up the name, which is a big name, which Floyd Mayweather, who has a bigger name, can team up with, and they both make loads of money. In recent times, he's had this very public court case going on where he's accused of just some crazy stuff. He was recently found liable in that court case because it wasn't a criminal court case, it was a civil case. So typically when you have these big cases, they'll normally be tried in civil court, right, where it's going to involve some sort of exchange of money or something along those lines. They don't go into criminal, and then they'll look at it and say, well, should we create a criminal case where he's going to go to prison and all this different kind of stuff? Typically, if it's a surefire thing, then they'll proceed. But a lot of the time they won't do. The reason why they'll normally do this with people who are wealthy is because they want money out of them. And that is, full disclosure, why some people will drum up charges and say so-and-so did something to me, because they know they've got money and they know it's a way that they can potentially get money out of them as well. He's being accused of this stuff he's apparently done, allegedly, with this woman. And the moment this case became public, everybody had an opinion. But what was that opinion based on? It was based on Connor McGregor's name. But what is his name, as I told you before? It's the things that he says, the things that he does. But when people think about Connor McGregor, they think about examples of him dancing with a woman in front of his wife and pulling her hair, and then realizing, oh yeah, what am I doing? They're going to think back to those sorts of things. And it's only people who really know him who will have a better opinion of whether he will do what is being alleged in that civil case. So my point is, when you find yourself in different situations, your brand is either going to build or break the thing that you're trying to do. Connor McGregor in that case was pleading innocence. He was saying, you know, he didn't do this thing. And whether he did it or not isn't the point of this video. Don't mistake me. But you have to realize that the actions that you take, the things that you say, the things that you do, speak louder and have a lasting effect on the people that engage with you. The next person I want to speak about is Joy Taylor. I did a video about this recently, and she's getting most of the flack because it's alleged that she's done some grotesque things in order to rise up the ranks in Fox Sports. Again, just like I mentioned with Connor McGregor, your brand is what is going to precede you and make people shape their opinion of you. She's being accused, in simple terms, and I spoke about this in the video, you can watch that after if you like, where she's sleeping her way to the top, just to keep this simple. Now immediately her brand is going to speak before she ever says anything. And again, this isn't about if she did this or not. A lot of people are going to hear, you know what, this is what she's accused of doing, and what are they going to then immediately focus on? They're going to focus on what she said in the past and what she's done in the past. And for a lot of people, it's just simple ABC 1, 2, 3. They're going to say, look, she dresses in a way which is inappropriate most of the time when she's publicly visible for all to see on TV shows. So is it likely she's done those things behind closed doors? This is how most people think. And again, I'm going to continue to say this. This is why you need to realize it's not necessarily about true or false. We live in a world where it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but we know too often these days people are judged as guilty before proven innocent. And this is why your brand is so significant. The third example I want to give you is me. And as I was thinking through this video, I was thinking about 13 years ago, how my brand helped me, but my actions didn't. So obviously this is a channel where I'm talking about how to build a booming business based on biblical principles. It's not so far-fetched to believe that I'm a Christian, or even if I told you that I'm a Bible teacher, which I mention from time to time. But 13 years ago, I found myself in a scenario where my wife now, but we weren't married at the time, she got pregnant. Damn! Now, if you don't understand just the ramifications in a Christian setting that has, I'm not going to explain it today, but let's just say for someone who is known in the community and was rising in popularity as a minister, a Bible teacher, to be found in that situation wasn't good. Now, the reason I'm giving you this example is because it helps you understand branding powerfully. So many people just naturally were shocked and didn't believe it. But I remember one response which stuck with me since, and it was when a close family friend heard about the scenario and the entanglement, right? and she was like, no, like, they're not like that. It hits me deep still to this day. And it's one of the things which I remind myself of as I continue to go through life. The point is, the brand that I had established at the time helped me, And people looked at it like, no, he wouldn't do this. And that was a scenario where when you act out of accordance with your brand, it damages you. And that was something which deteriorated the brand, so to speak. And it takes months and years for you to undo work that may take one day to destroy. So this is one of the things you have to think about. So many people find themselves in these situations where it's a moment of madness or a week of just destruction, which has a long-lasting effect. This is why realizing how precious your name is. If your name is destroyed, if you do something which defames your name, which destroys your name, all the riches and wealth that people are desirous for is gonna go. And some people find themselves in a position where it's unrepairable. When you think about your business, one thing you need to keep safe at all times is your name. Keep building your brand in a way which continues to pay you far greater and far much more than any wealth or riches you can acquire. If you continue to build your brand, it's not going to ever break your bank account. It will continue to build and build and build it bigger and bigger and bigger. And with all this talk about building a brand, watch my video next, which shows the 7 biblical steps to build a brand that can potentially make you billions. Watch that here next. Go win, and God bless winners.